Coming to you from Music City, Nashville, Tennessee, this is the Quinn Spinn. Hey now, and welcome once again, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, one and all, to a brand new edition of the Quinn Spinn. I'm your host, the Quinn. At least that's how they know me here on the show. And I'm back for another rousing and riveting installment of the official podcast of Underground Music Collective. You just heard Revel 9's All I've Become. The official theme song of the Quinn Spinn has been since 2014, and it will be until the very end of days. And you'll see we continue year 10, our march toward our 10th birthday here on the interview set. And I have a very special guest, a guy I've known for quite some time. First appearance on the show, Pierson, producer, artist, all-around good soul, fellow New Jersey native, where we started this show 10 years ago. Jay, happy to have you on.
What's up? It's good to see you, man. Good vibes. I'm so happy to be here. I've been watching you do your thing in this building for years on end. There have been months where we're just like, hey, and there's been months where we're like, yo, like, I cannot believe this is happening.
Mm-hmm.
That. What are you working on? What are you working on? And we haven't worked on anything really. Like, we've even worked on things together, but it wasn't our thing.
Right. We both got booked for it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we're just in this space. It's like, it's good to see you, man. Cheers. We cheers, have a good time. So I'm really happy to be here, and I'm happy to just, talk to the people and give this Spotify, this audio podcast some juice,
Not to mention YouTube. They can
and
see
YouTube.
us.
Yes. They can see it. So that's even better.
That's a beautiful thing. Well, yeah, happy to have you. Glad this is our first true collaboration here.
Yes.
So let's make it count. And so I ask every guest of the show 3 standard questions.
Mm-hmm.
You can answer these however you like. Those 3 questions are: who are you? What are your passions? And why on earth would you want to come on the Quinn Spinn?
Okay, so I'll answer the first question, then you have to repeat the second one. So, so the first question is, who am I? I am that I am. My name is Pierson. I am from New Jersey / New York. I was raised in the recording industry. My father was deep in the game. I got to see some of the coolest artists in the 90s. I was literally a 90s hip-hop baby, so I got to be around when songs were being made, some amazing records that everybody may know. And then I just got a little older, started coming to myself, came to Tennessee for college, and then got out of college and other things started happening. So, I mean, we'll dive deeper into that stuff, but just as an opening, yeah.
Yeah. So what are your passions? And feel free to go outside of music for these 2.
Okay. So my passions are peace. I love peace. I try to find quietness, even though I am a busy person for no reason. I'm just one of those people who, like, I can't sit still, and I try to find things to do. My passion is definitely music and finding out how to impact the world through that. My passion is to never miss the opportunity to risk being great. So
I love that.
Scary, though, because sometimes you jump into things you may not be fully prepared for.
Yeah.
But at least you could speak on them in the future and be like, yeah, I did that.
Yeah.
Another passion of mine is family. That's huge for me. And having those family values give me a lot of insight on how to do other things with others. Because if I treat them the same way, well, not the disciplinary side, but, if I treat you like my family, it's pretty good, Love my kids. Love everybody in the family. So that's the vibe right there.
And so why on earth would you want to come on this show of all the shows?
One, this show has been consistent. Let's start there. It always sounds good. I'm a sound engineer, producer. So if the sound's not right, you're not going to have me on the show.
I appreciate that. Because oftentimes I question if I know what I'm doing on the audio end. So it's refreshing. And thanks for the ASMR.
So he can delete that. That's why I say it's good to be on a show with good sound, right?
Right.
So if you heard that, then you heard how clear this man gets us. But also, you've been doing a lot of good things for UMC and all the artists in town. The Underground Music Collective has just been fantastic. The amount of shows I've got to participate and see a few of them, and it's just amazing. I'm just really honored to be here and be in your presence in this standpoint. Not just like seeing you in the lounge doing your thing, but like, man, I get to hang out with Gerard, like for real.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
We get to sit here and have a conversation between two ferns.
Yep. Oh man, that show's crazy.
I hope that's not trademarked.
Yeah.
Like we might get in trouble for that.
I don't care.
I don't edit, so
Well,
we
we
just let
can
this go.
manipulate it. Oh, let me not say that. Yeah, we could just edit it out.
Maybe. It's kind of funny though.
Right. 100%.
Yeah. We are between two ferns. Well, actually, this is a tree, so we're not. So it's fine. That's our way around it.
And it's been the same size for a long time.
It has.
About 5 years, probably, or longer.
It's amazing how these plants, these absolutely real plants, just don't grow.
Yeah. And all you need is Gatorade.
Yeah.
And so Gatorade can sustain its life for 15, 20 years or until there's nuclear holocaust. All right. So cool, man.
Anyway, on that happy note,
right.
I'm curious to dive more into your background because I'm learning things about you here as we're sitting here. So your father was deep in the game, as you said, you know, and you had a chance to be around the creation of so many impactful records growing up. And so you've been on this creative path pretty much your entire life.
Yeah.
You know, so like what inspiration would you say you found from those early experiences and how does that translate now for you?
The biggest thing I learned is what not to do. That's kind of what we all want to learn is what not to do in the game. It's not really like what to do because everything else is left over. But really being able to watch artists grow from just being some person on the street to a person that gets to name a street. That is the power. And I see that as something that I want to pursue myself and make my name known, not necessarily on a stage because I've seen that life, but definitely in the background. Someone that's in the book that you can go look up and they might make a class about one day. I also learned that I don't necessarily want to be in the gangster realm. Right. In high school, I tried. You know, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna be 50 cents. I'm gonna be 51 cents, and it didn't make any sense. You know, I ended up just realizing after I looked at my lyric sheet from high school, I was like, wow, this child was troubled, right? But not necessarily. It's just I was just writing like that because it was in style,
right?
And so I've learned how to not go with the style and really go with what is going to create the society. How are people going to move? How are they going to flow? Yeah. So, yeah, that's what I've been going for.
And, of course, family, as you mentioned, has, you know, played a role in your entire journey, you know, both growing up and now as a father yourself.
Yep.
So how has that how has fatherhood impacted your creative journey? How has it informed your processes? And what has it taught you that you can apply to this path that you're on?
Well, I'll definitely say family will slow you down, right? Not necessarily in a like, oh, I can't do music anymore, but it'll make you go, why am I doing all this extra stuff that's not doing anything for me? Or for my family, right? So even if everyone's part of a family, whether you're connected to them or not, but we all have some type of goal that lives past us. Right? It's like, okay, when I'm gone, I want maybe this to be around or something to benefit this person or group, even your friends that you consider family. And I've learned that everything I do essentially is for them. Whether it's just making a beat, getting a job, whether it's getting a car, whether it's having a home, whether it's walking outside, there's a purpose for it now. And before that, I was just, there were physical wants more so than like spiritual or family wants, right? So that's something that's really helped me. And it's also given me a reason to write music.
Right.
The more family you have, the more drama you have too. So, you know, that could be a good thing. And in the end, because, if you have a fallout with a family member, you can go back to those people a lot of times.
Yeah.
There are some people you have a fallout with. That's it.
That's it.
That's just done. They're on the other side of the planet. You never even know how they grew or what they learned. But when you have somebody that's there and can really hone in on who you are and know you better than you a little bit, they can just tell you what might be next based on your bloodline. Like, yo, I went through that.
Yeah.
You know, I went through all those things, and now I'm starting to bestow those same values and truths on my kids, and I get to teach a whole bunch of kids in the city. So that's really cool too.
Yeah. Yeah. And part of what you said really resonated with me as far as, you know, this concept too of like, it has to be bigger than you.
Yeah.
It absolutely does. Like, and I feel like a lot of us in this industry or any creative industry starting out, like we don't quite get that when we start, you know, and it's just one of these things where it's like, well, I want to be rich and famous. I want to, you know, succeed, you know, just this like very like black and white idea of what success is. Right. But success is being on the journey as long as you and I have and continuing to grow, but also like realizing, you know, who and what that impacts around you. You know, like I don't have kids, but like my nieces and nephew, especially my eldest niece, Amber, you know, she and I are really close. And like in a lot of ways, I think we've gotten closer and found even more kinship since I moved here because we're the square pegs. You know, she wants to go out and like do big things and all that. And it's like, well, by me continuing to build what I'm building, like I'm giving her a blueprint. I'm showing her it's possible, you know, to get out of your hometown and go and like build something from zero, you know? And so every decision that you make, you know, they see it, you know, your children, your other relatives, your friends, you know, the people, there are always people watching, you know, and there are always people rooting for you that you might not even realize. And so you're not just showing up for yourself. You're not just showing up for your own success. You're showing up for those people, and you're showing up to give them that inspiration, to give them that hope, to maybe spark an idea in them, you know, that helps propel them forward in whatever they want to do, whatever, you know, whatever their UMC is, whatever, you know, like whatever their music career is, like whatever that means to them and what the mark they want to make on the world. You know, there's a lot of, I think, interchangeable, you know, lessons just that go across the board, no matter what you're trying to pursue, what you're trying to build.
100%.
And so we have that opportunity to impart that, you know, upon those in our lives, you know, and not just those who are younger, but, you know, anybody, those who are older, you know, anybody who's looking, you know, to have some kind of impact, you know, we all have something to learn from each other, regardless of age, circumstance, location.
Yeah. And I learn a lot from you. Every day I see you, you know, I walk by, I'm like, yo, this dude is really going hard. Sometimes I'm thinking that he's overexerting.
Sometimes I think that too.
Yeah. And we both say to each other, like, yeah, I overexerted this week. And I'm like, looks like it. You're like, Jay, you all right? I'm like, no. But yeah, I definitely respect you in that realm because you do the same thing. You're essentially an exception to the rule where you talk about these people who don't have children and don't necessarily understand how to structure life because they don't need it, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of that thing. Like I remember back in the day, I would get up, I'd put clothes on, I'd eat, and I'd walk out of the door. That's crazy now. Like you did what? You just got up and walked outside?
Right, yeah.
Right? But to have the power to tell yourself, no, there's other things I need to do before I walk out of this door.
Yeah.
That takes strength, and it takes a powerful mind, and it takes having, you know, even though they're not your kids, you treat them like yours. And now that they're around, you kind of have that. But lucky you get to give them back. So not like it's a bad thing. It's like
I do like to rile them up and then leave. You know, and you know when I leave for months at a time. You know, because they're up there
months,
and I'm here. So it's you know, just you know, give them a healthy dose of Uncle Gaga, and then you know,
Uncle Gaga.
Gaga, yeah.
Uncle Gaga.
So well, just Gaga. They don't even say uncle. It's just Gaga.
Okay.
So when Amber was 1, she was trying to say my name, Gerard, and she was 1, so she couldn't yet.
Yeah.
Gaga, Gaga, Gaga. And it just stuck. And now there's 4 of them in total, and I'm Gaga to all of them.
Wow.
Yeah. But
Well, at least your name starts with a G.
yeah.
So now you're an OG, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But you're not old yet.
I'm
No.
getting
Well,
there.
yeah, kids call us old now, don't they?
They do. They do.
I got called old. I said, they're like, "What year are you born?" I was like, "Oh, here we go." And I was like, "I was born in 1900s." And they're like, "Whoa, oh my god!"
In the 1900s.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. We were born in 1900s.
Mhm.
I'm
We
an
were.
88 baby.
87.
A lot of people don't think that, but we're the coolest generation. The only reason I say that is not because we're actually the coolest. We're probably not, but we've experienced the most of societal change, I'd say.
Mhm.
Like we went from I used a rotary phone.
Yeah.
I know it works.
Oh, yeah.
I know how that works.
Yep, I remember.
All the way up until an iPhone 14. So like, and from computers using floppy disks to now computers using no disks, at all, and they're just flat screens.
Yep.
And that also has given us a little bit of an edge to we can break away from technology.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel so sure about the newer ones coming
It's
out.
harder for them, I think. Yeah.
Dude, they don't have a choice. I mean,
especially because they were home for a year and a half and doing everything, everything through screens. Like
Yep.
that really, it's the studies are showing now, like it's set them back in terms of development, in terms of their social skills, everything.
yeah. And so, I did my best during COVID by just throwing them outside all the time and being like, we're just going to be in nature as much as possible.
Oh, yeah.
And doing the homeschooling thing was cool. It made me want to do it permanently. I know a lot of people say, "Oh, heck no, I never do that." But I'm like, man, honestly, there's an entire country somewhere where that's all they do.
Yeah.
And and when I saw how much faster they were learning, I was like, whoa, wow, maybe I should have been homeschooled. But then I'm like, parents born in the 70s and 60s. I don't know about that. I don't think
It's different now.
Yeah, it's different now.
Yeah. I think we are, though. I think we're a good bridge generation,
100%.
between, the boomers and Gen X and now to Gen Z. Like, because we are able, I think, if we're willing to relate to all of them. I think, we find the most kinship, I think, with Gen X, like there's a certain groundedness to Gen X. A certain like realism, and sometimes it does veer into pessimism, like that jaded 90s grunge kind of aesthetic.
Yes. Oh, dude.
But like there's a certain groundedness that like keeps our generation, the millennials, from like having our heads too far in the clouds for the most part, And I think, with the state of the world, of course, that'll kind of give you a reality check once in a while too over the past few years.
I can go a billion miles an hour on
The state of the world.
yeah, dude. Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
But the same thing to me is what's happened in music, and music is a real testament to how people are living and what's considered acceptable, what isn't considered acceptable, and learning that is a part of the journey as well, which is what I also have a passion for.
Yeah.
Is really figuring out where do I fit in this all. And so even as an adult, I'm still trying 1,000 things.
Yeah.
Right. And, now that I'm starting to hone in, I'll sit in a room with somebody I used to do work with, and they're like, "Hey, I got this thing and this thing and this thing." I'm like, "No." They're like, "What do you mean no?" I'm like, "Man, honestly, if you can just come to me with the one thing that I'm focusing on, it's not a slight to you or anything. But I think we need to start focusing on one thing at a time."
Yeah.
Because it's literally impossible to do more than one thing at a time. Even though your phone does, because it's a computer,
right?
You cannot.
Right.
You can try, but your brain can only do so many things. So
yeah, I could use that lesson myself. I think someday, because there's so much available to us, and I find as I go on too, it's like there are definitely things that I used to say yes to, that I say no to, or that I at least pause and think about, because I think like when I first moved to town and UMC came with me, from Pennsylvania,
right?
It was say yes to everything, get on the board, get on people's radars, do people favors, like just say yes, 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 you know? But that really sets you up to just be known as the guy who says yes to anything and who will do it for cheap or free.
For zero, yeah.
Yeah, like, there are definitely like media partnerships from 2019, say, that like in 2023, it'd be like, we don't have the bandwidth for this. And like, what are we getting out of it other than our logo on a thing?
Right.
You know what I mean? Whereas in 2019, it's like, well, nobody knows who we are, so they're doing us a favor.
Everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like now, it's like people know who UMC is.
Yep.
We have a PR team now. Like we have all this equity built into the brand, and it's just like as you grow, but also as you learn like what's done well for you before and what hasn't, like you are able to, I think, refine. Even if you're taking on a bunch at once, like you're able to refine what those things are.
Yeah.
And you're able to ensure that they all serve a purpose toward the grand vision, as opposed to just like doing a favor, or as opposed to just like, oh, well, yeah, okay, let's try this.
Right.
It's a nice thing to do. It's it might be fun. It might get us somewhere. Who knows? Like, you have a much better idea of where you're going, and I think that purpose really drives you forward, and it gives you this sense of discipline too. To stay the course and to learn how to say no to certain things. And that's been huge for me, is just like, okay, I'll do it if it makes sense.
Yeah.
But not everything makes sense. Even if you want it to, sometimes it's just like.
And I think, honestly, COVID really put that thought in a lot of people's minds. I know, especially with the cost of things. Yeah. Pretty basic. It happens in every generation where there's a time where we're like, ooh, I can't say yes unless it's this type of actual like earning, or what's the return on my investment, right? So I know for me, it taught me to say no, because I can't say yes. If I say yes, I don't have a place to live.
Yeah.
So like when a client comes up to me asking me about certain things in music, whether it's a mix, production, recording, I want to say yes because I love them, but I have to say no because I respect them. Right. Because it's like, if I say yes to you, I'm definitely not going to give it my all, because I want to get you out of the way now, because I know that it's not going to benefit me in the way that it probably should. Right. Not that the music or the content or whatever it is that I'm working on isn't worth it. It's just I need to make sure that I'm doing it right. And we're offering services to people. Yeah. And I need to make sure my product is grade A at all times. And so I'm well more than okay with saying no. Everybody out there, say no. Just say no. Just say no. When it makes sense. Yeah. But also, I think, like, too, there's something to be said for knowing that the prospective client can even appreciate what the grade A product is, for what it is, because, like, there are people who come through and are totally green to the industry, and like they don't know the difference between grade A and grade D, you know, because they just haven't been in the industry. Like there's definitely, I think a lot of like people just starting out, or like who have been local musicians for a long time. Oh, well, I posted on social media. This is just an example. Yeah. Why didn't anybody come to my show? Well, you didn't actually market. You just made a post that day and expected like 100 people to show up. It doesn't, it's a very like oversimplified example of this, but it's like, on our end, on the service end, it's like, okay, is this client at the level that we're at right now? Do they understand what that level entails? Because if they don't, then everyone's wasting their time. They're wasting yours and you're wasting theirs, because it's just not in alignment at that point, and they'd be better served, trying it themselves for a while, learning the lessons that way, or finding somebody who's more at that level, kind of, career wise starting out, as opposed to trying to shoot for the moon right away. You have to build up, and there are building blocks. Like, there are levels that I haven't reached yet, you know what I mean? And it's like, but it's okay. It's okay. It's like, what steps do I have to take to get there? And starting to take those steps, and then recognizing, you have to be, I think, aware enough and be able to stop and smell the roses to realize, like, okay, yeah, now I am ready for this thing. Yeah. Now I am ready to enlist the services of this person, or, try for this opportunity. All the pieces are there. I think a lot of people start out and they're just like, oh, well, we just need to like get discovered by somebody famous. Absolutely not. That's probably the last thing you want to do.
Absolutely not. Like, so many people, I think, move here and think, I'm just going to busk on Broadway.
Yeah.
and Blake Shelton's going to walk by and discover me and sign me to a deal.
Yeah.
First of all, Blake Shelton may or may not even have that power. I don't know what his
Yeah.
label status is. But also, it doesn't happen that way. It's years of work. It's years of trial and error, effort, and relationships matter, but not in the way that people think, because you actually have to build them.
Yeah. And even if you already had the relationship, someone may put you on, but put you on in the mailroom.
Mm-hmm.
So
and that's still an opportunity.
Yeah, it is an opportunity. But people are like, yeah, my cousin is this person, that person. It's like, but what does that really mean for me? So you end up being someone's artist, cousin's artist, right? And you got to watch out for those things, because I see it a lot. People will say that they're 30 degrees of separation from this person and that person.
Yeah.
And in all reality, you might be 100,000 degrees away. You just don't know it.
Right.
It just got turned 18 different directions, and you think you had this quick opportunity.
Yeah.
You end up getting shut down. I think my biggest opportunities have come from lawyers, lawyers, and people who aren't in the music industry. I would really say that.
Yeah.
Because people who aren't in the music industry will give you a chance because, they don't know. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then they find out that you're amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And then they tell their friend that does the 5K run every year.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're providing a service for them, whether it be making their shirts, whether it's your DJing, whether it's you're providing the sound system, or whether you're providing the place to run. Right. It's all these things that you have to keep in mind, and trying to find the shortcut may be the longest way.
Yeah.
Because like you could take a shortcut and literally twist your ankle and dislocate your left arm, and then your neck falls off.
Mm-hmm. In that order.
In that order too. And then you get up and you're like, oh, that was fine.
Mm-hmm.
So.
You don't have a neck.
No neck.
It's gone forever. But yeah, case in point, like the short way, the quick way, the easy way very rarely is the way.
Right.
And even if you have that brief fleeting moment of virality or success, or like that 15 minutes of fame, what you do to actually sustain that momentum is what matters from there. The moment's the moment. And once the moment's over, it's like, especially in this day and age where everything's so quickly digested and discarded afterwards, like, what are you doing to keep that momentum rolling? You have to be thinking every single day, like, okay, I have this opportunity coming up. What am I going to follow that up with? And nobody's going to do it for you. You might make the right connections, you might build the right relationships over time, but it comes down to the effort you're putting forth. And that's the thing too, like taking on clients, it's like, it's a partnership, you're building a team, but you're all members of that team and everybody has a role. I think too, like when people hire someone, and they don't understand the nuances of the industry, they just kind of expect them to wave the wand and make them famous. Right. Rub the lamp, the genie will grant you a wish, and all of a sudden you've made it, which making it itself is an abstract concept.
1,000. And that's something that I've learned being a member here at home too, is like success is definitely based on you. And it's based on your metrics. You have to create metrics to even rank your success. You can't, comparing yourself to someone else is cool if you're trying to pick a pair of shoes. But when it comes to what type of life am I going to live, one, you're not going to really know the lifestyle of the person you're idolizing, which is danger in itself, right? Because you don't even know if they're wearing a fake chain or a real chain. They may be doing that just so you click, right? And that's it. And then you go hang out with them. They ride a bike everywhere they go, and that's kind of the thing. And so for me, measuring success has all been about, when do I get to sit down? I feel successful when I get to sit still.
Yeah.
That's when
it's
I'm
a
like,
real thing.
Yes. Okay. I saw you sit still once.
Did you?
Yeah.
When?
I'm lying.
I did sit still a little bit last summer.
Oh, yeah?
Actually.
Okay.
It was good.
Summertime, that counts.
Yeah.
But no, like during the year, like, man, and I'm really, now that I'm so deep in the music industry, I do really believe that the weekend is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yeah.
That's the weekend. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, for all you music people out there, please don't try to make your biggest connections on those days unless it's in a very like tight spot and you know who's there, right? But you're like, oh, I'm gonna go out to this bar. I'm gonna meet this person. We're gonna go to the studio that night. Da-da-da. Sometimes that happens, but that usually just leads to a lifelong journey of destruction. You gotta be careful.
Yeah.
And we've all been on that. I know my college years were interesting, to say the least.
Yeah.
So I was able to get through that without going to jail, which is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Super awesome.
Yeah.
And now as an adult, I'm like, man, I'm glad I made those mistakes. Because now that I'm trying to figure out this journey and meet the right people, the goal is to create a space for those people to show up.
Yeah.
Not necessarily go chase those people.
Right. And when that's your focus, attracting instead of chasing, but also moving with purpose, like, it's hard to feel like you're missing out on anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, when I first moved here, and I've said this on the show before, like, I'd be going out every weekend and like exploring my new city and sabotaging plenty of Sundays. You know what I mean? And then I had a day job, the first couple of years I lived here. So it's like my time was limited to build the platform anyway. And, I always was afraid of like missing out, I guess. I had this FOMO, but like over the past year, a lot has just kind of shifted for me. And like, I don't miss nightlife at all. As a matter of fact, I prefer to avoid it.
Yep.
Like I only go to Broadway if somebody's visiting, you know what I mean? And like, honestly, most of the time I only really go out, like, out to go out if somebody's visiting. Like,
so he's saying that, but he was out last night.
Well, but there was a friend in town, my friend Kip from college. He was one night only business trip.
Okay.
And so I hadn't seen him in like 5 years.
That's awesome.
And that's where I'm like, all right, I can make an exception here. I can not wake up at 5 tomorrow, wake up at 6 or 7, and it'll be fine.
Wait, hold on.
The world won't end.
6 or 7.
Yeah.
I mean, I wake up at 6 or 7 because of school duties, obviously. But what are you doing at 7?
Oh, I've started waking up at 5.
Your day. Run me through your day.
I've started waking up at 5 recently.
To do what?
To get all the like content stuff out of the way early before the phone starts going off and before the emails start coming in, before the meetings. Because if I'm starting that at 9, the day's over. Completely over. Because like, you've got the calls, you've got meetings. Sometimes you get pulled into something, and also like other gigs. I take on a lot of gig work myself right now.
Yeah.
And it's just like I have those hours between 5 and 9 to get up, get something in my stomach, eat a little breakfast, get to work on the content. The content is done by 9 for the day. I'm not on social media the rest of the day most days after that.
Wow.
But then, once in a while, you make an exception to that and you wake up at 7 and it's like, wow, I lost those 2 hours at the beginning of the day. Like, that's where I'm at now. Yeah. And I used to never want to be a morning person. I thought it just ran counter to every fiber in my being. But to tell you the truth, I'd rather do that because, like, also, like, sometimes I'll DoorDash and, like, I'll get in, like drive DoorDash. I'll get in like 9:30, 10 o'clock, and I would try to work after that till 1, and I'm dead.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not.
What is that?
Like, even if I'm awake, like, I'm so worn out from the road and from the drivers here in Nashville in particular. And like,
best drivers in the world, by the way.
Best, absolute best. Counter to everything we've ever told you on the show.
Right.
But like at that point, I might as well go to bed. So if I'm going to bed then I might as well like use the hours earlier that I'm trying to work and actually like have the energy to accomplish something.
Man, I will definitely say kudos to you. I'm still at, well, I guess what's in my world, right? Because I'm a sound engineer, I don't get the option to be like, hey, let's record at 5 a.m.
Right.
I could never in my life never, that doesn't, nope, sorry, it has not happened. But you have given me the opportunity to risk being great by literally opening up projects that I have to finish up and see about getting those done. Because what happens to me is I'll drink one of these, right? Rarely, but it'll keep me up.
Yeah.
And then I'll get all my duties done. And once it hits like 9:30, I start at night.
Yeah.
And then I'll go to like midnight and I'll wake up at like 7, get it going. But then I realize I'm like, man, I don't feel like I did anything.
Yeah.
I know it's crazy, but it feels like, man, I wasted energy by staying up instead of just going to sleep real early. No, like, my day's not ending in a stressful mindset.
Right.
And then I wake up as early as possible and could
Mhm.
just do whatever. I could sit there. I have time to myself. I get to watch the sunrise. So thank you for that. You've
Yeah. It's made a world of difference for me, honestly, because I do go to bed like, all right, I'm done today. Let's go to the next day. All right, let's do it all again. And as opposed to like, I wanted to get this thing done tonight. I didn't get this thing done tonight, and I might as well just go to bed. Like, that's the difference for me. Is like, I don't feel like I'm leaving anything on the table this
100%.
way. It's like, all right, I got up, I got all that knocked out. Now I have the rest of the day to go make money, get to the gym, do whatever I need to do with the rest of my day.
Yeah.
That's not just sitting and pumping out blog content and social media posts for clients and occasionally this podcast. Last week's episode was, late on Thursday because of I didn't wake up till 7.
Really?
Because
Wow.
I would have recorded the solo mission at home, and I would have just done it, done and dusted by 7:00, 7:30.
That's right. You do your setup at the house.
Yeah.
I've seen that.
Yeah, like I would have just done it then, and it would have been out in the world. Instead, I'm recording it, breaking the fourth wall. I'm recording it after this episode and posting it afterwards because I didn't have time this morning because I went out. So yeah, I save going out for special occasions now.
Yeah.
As
'cause it'll
opposed to-
screw up the next day.
Yeah, as opposed to, well, it's Saturday. You know what that means,
Yeah.
Like there's just, for me, I'm 36. There's just no value in going out in the nightlife at this point. And like, because you're going out to meet people. I have no problem meeting people.
Right.
And I meet people by doing this who are way more aligned than anybody I'm going to meet at a bar at 1 a.m.
Yep.
And
even if you are in line with them, they're not in line at that moment.
Yeah.
Or they're just in line to get inside.
Yeah. Yeah, they're not aligned. Like one eye might be going that
Right.
way. One
They're
eye-
just like, yeah, it's good to see you, man. Yeah, I remember you from 94. Yeah, that was a great year.
Mhm. And then they have no recollection of the conversation the next day,
Yeah.
Or, if you're meeting somebody for the first time, that's happened too, where it's like you meet someone,
Yep.
it's like, yeah, man, let's work on this, or hey, let's get coffee. And then like you text and they ghost because they don't remember who you are.
That's so true.
So
So one thing I was gonna ask, I don't know if this is a place where I can ask you questions.
you can ask me whatever you want.
Okay. So I'm gonna give you a rundown of me,
Mhm.
right? As far as like what I got going on,
Mhm.
and then maybe just like a simple what you would do
Mhm.
with somebody in my place. All right.
Yeah.
So I'm a development coordinator here at home. So I help artists and producers get teamed up with other people, whether it's through a networking event, creating a vibe, or it's like doing interviews with people, or literally showing them where their opportunities may be.
Mhm.
And that's through this organization. Secondly, I teach production workshops at schools.
Mhm.
So that's been a consistent thing for 13 years.
Congratulations.
Helped to design a few cities. I have SimCity, but I've helped to design a few studios in the city
Mhm.
for kids to use. And then I have a studio that I manage in North Nashville called
Mhm.
Jefferson Street Sound.
Yeah.
That I helped just remodel, which is great for people to use. That will hopefully become a satellite campus for a location like this.
Mhm.
And then I record and mix.
Mhm.
I don't like mixing, and only because of the focused energy I have to put into it.
Yeah.
And because you have to hear things 1,000 times.
Mhm.
And then I produce. Now, my production, I love doing production consistently, but I've been falling out of it. But when I get back into it, it's like 30
Mhm.
tracks out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Those are those things. And then I have my beat battles. I throw beat battles
Yeah. Mhm.
every quarter or so.
Yep. We've
got
done a
one-
couple here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have one coming up in May, and it's going to be partnered with Nashville's Not Just Country Music.
Okay.
Which
Yeah,
is
yeah.
awesome.
Mhm.
So that's a great organization town. And then I am really focusing heavy. I'm trying to focus solely on sync. So getting music for film, TV, etc., or video games.
Mhm.
And
What don't you do?
that's what I'm trying to figure out.
Right.
I'm right now, because not that I'm great at everything. It's just more like I've done enough of a lot of things to where I can get by
Mhm.
in most realms.
Yeah.
And so let's say I'm that guy, right?
Mhm.
And
Right.
I have kids, right?
Yeah.
And I'm doing all this stuff. And and I'm essentially an artist coming up.
Right.
What would you do to shut all that up and put it into like, okay, here's what the focus should be?
Well,
And I DJ.
And you DJ. I think, I think it's best to follow your intuition here. And like, if there's something that feels out of alignment or something that you're no longer enjoying, to de-emphasize that, and move in the direction of the things that, first of all, are, helping you grow the most, in, professionally, financially, or helping you push things forward, and anything that doesn't feel like it's in alignment with that or is lagging behind, de-emphasize that. Not saying you have to drop it entirely, but like, you know in your gut, like where you want to go and where you want to take this. And I think it's just a matter of like lining up that vision and seeing what feeds that vision best. What actions are you taking that move you in that direction more steadfast, and you're wearing a lot of hats, know, and, you have a lot of professional responsibilities, you have family responsibilities, and there are only so many hours in the day.
Yeah.
So how are you using those hours to create the vision, your long-term vision, and I maybe defining exactly what that is, and where do you see all of this leading you 5, 10, 15 years down the road? And what are you doing now? What actions are you taking every day to bring yourself closer to that?
Gotcha. Well, let me see if I can answer in any, like, what I've been trying to do. So, like I said, I'm hyper-focusing as much as I can on doing sync music. But sync isn't a pay-by-day type of thing.
Right.
It's submit, wait a year, you hear something.
Right.
And so I'm at the rate of 2 to 3 placements a year, right?
Yeah.
Which could essentially pay for a whole year of living if it's the right thing. And then, but while that's happening, I'm like, I gotta get this income going. So I'm like, okay, I'll take whatever DJ gig shows up. I'm gonna throw a battle like once every 6 months.
Yeah.
I'm gonna record artists as they come, but I'll try to be picky. I'll sing on a track if it's financially feasible, and if the content is like safe,
right,
in a sense. And then I'm helping all these artists and producers do the same thing I'm doing.
Right.
So I think what I'm really trying to do by day is open up a project in the morning that I have to finish, whether it's a beat, a session, or recording.
Yeah.
Try to get it finished, which never happens. Answer a whole bunch of phone calls, emails, teach. And you can hear it even now in my speech. I'm like, yo, there's too many things I have going on.
Yeah.
But I'm really attached to all of them because they are keeping me alive right now.
Yeah.
So if you were to recommend a person, so if I were to say, okay, the only thing I want to have happen is do sync music.
Yeah.
Like I'm just singing on songs, making a beat, submitting it for placements.
Right.
And that's literally it. I'm not DJing. I'm not, teaching. I'm not doing all these other things. I love doing development stuff. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Working with, because just staying in a network and staying in know-how is awesome. Who would I need to put on my team to focus heavily on just sync?
On just sync. That's a good question.
Is it the right question for you?
I don't know that that's the right question for me because I don't really like one part of this world I don't really understand that well is sync. I want to learn more about it.
Cool.
So I guess my question then is, like, I guess just kind of take me through your process in submitting for these opportunities and like where you feel things are maybe lagging behind or what you feel you need help with.
So the way I submit for sync, so I get briefs every day pretty much that I can either write to or bring somebody in.
Yeah.
And I try to get those done within a week to turn in.
Yeah.
Cool. Part one. I have artists, musicians I can call.
Yeah.
I don't have a sync agent. That's just finding me the right briefs
Okay.
So I have a slew of 1,000 things that I can touch.
Yeah.
And as far as maybe repeat the question just one more time so I could clearly.
Well, I think that actually kind of helps direct me, because I think like it's about finding the right opportunities,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's about connecting to those right opportunities and having somebody on your team, like an agent, right?
Yeah.
Who can connect you to those right opportunities and help with some of that legwork and take some of that admin off your plate.
Yeah.
Might go a long way. Because I can tell you, I mean, different world, right? But like when I hired Brand Inc. PR, based in Austin, they've been doing our PR for months, and they're doing an unbelievable job. Like, it's not just. You see, I guess I didn't fully understand what PR was, because I thought it was just media relations.
Yeah.
But it's really helping with move forward a lot of these big picture ideas, and like, hey, what do you need? And how can we connect you to those people or to those opportunities to help drive the business forward?
Right.
You know, so, and like just hiring Brandy and her team have that's helped me tremendously, because in addition to making the right connections to bring those into the platform, what it's also done is it's taking a lot of that administrative work off of my plate. So, and it frankly has moved a lot of the bigger picture initiatives forward, because I have help, you know, and I can focus on right now, like, you know, and eventually the goal is to kind of phase out of like doing so much of the day to day and to jump into more of that big picture. But right now, and pretty much since UMC came to Nashville, my primary focus has been the day-to-day of content operations, keeping things moving forward. But as time goes on, you know, and we're going to be announcing some stuff pretty soon that I'm not quite ready to announce yet. We're going to have people to handle a lot of the client services projects, you know, and to handle the content, you know.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And that way I can focus on conceptually building the business and really going out and being the face of it, you know.
Yeah.
And being the person to really take an active part in these relationships more, you know, that we're already, the table's being set by the PR firm, you know, in terms of building these relationships. I mean, these panels we've been putting on, most of the panelists have come from Brandy and her team.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. She's made all these connections. Like, I can't say enough about the job that Brand Inc. PR is doing for us right now. Like, they've made all these connections, the guest contributors, the Wednesday Wisdom contributors, brought in by them, you know.
Wow.
And that's giving us amazing content, insightful content from people who've been in this industry even longer than I have, you know. And what it's doing is it's bolstering the platform.
Yeah.
It's making UMC's voice stronger, which is setting the table for bigger opportunities for us. So having somebody in your corner, right, who can go and can take a lot of that work that's just kind of hanging out there, the stuff you're saving for one day, you know, like the stuff that, like, it's complex, and like, because you're in the day-to-day and you're in the weeds of it, you can't quite get to, like, having someone to help get the ball rolling on that is so valuable.
So what that makes me think is I need a person that's willing to listen to all 4,000 tracks I have.
Ooh.
And go, okay, I'm going to categorize these for you.
Yeah.
And I'm going to put basic metadata there for you. And I'm going to work these for you. And we'll just have a simple agreement to where I get a cut of the splits. I'd be more than happy to do that.
Yeah.
Or it's like, here are the tracks you need to work on because these are going to go and they need to be finished out. And I'm like, and I just go, yes, awesome. That's what I really want.
Yeah.
I can go through all my stuff, but by the time I go through all my stuff, I forgot the 20 beats that I was supposed to make.
Right.
I forgot the 10 tracks I was supposed to finish. I forgot the client that I was supposed to do a co-write with. Right. And it's like, that is where my sync agent would come in. I get a brief, or an artist is sent to me that's trying to complete a brief, and I can guarantee you I probably already have a track that fits the mold.
Yeah.
And if I have somebody that can go through that for me, sync manager, sync agent, whatever you want to call it, that can just be like, here's the track. This one works. Y'all work on it. Cool. Thank you. I don't have to spend 17 hours dreaming and thinking which one's going to work, because I'm going to think of 30 things that work.
You have someone who's already organized it for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm hearing in your world. And that also brings me to, so doing that sync stuff, because a lot of people told me, oh, you need to do your own stuff. You need to put out your own music. And I'm like, yes, but I've needed I needed to put my 10,000 hours in.
Mm-hmm.
I need to record other artists. I need to produce for other artists. I need to put songs out. I need to see the process, and I need to watch them mess up.
Yeah.
So that when I start this, it's done right the first time. People are like, when's your album coming out? I'm like, don't ask that. Because it's not when, it's how is the album coming out.
Right.
Because I need to figure that out. It's not that I can't create the content.
Right.
It's just what am I going to do with it? And now that you have somebody helping you with your content and getting it done the right way, you can focus on just creating it.
Yeah.
And that's huge.
Yeah.
So, yes, you're going to ask you about the artistry thing.
Well, I have one more point on this, too. Another thing that it adds is a layer of accountability.
Yeah.
You know, because, like, when you're doing the solopreneur thing or, like, you know, you don't have that person to kind of feed off of, like, it's easy to get shiny object syndrome.
Yeah.
Right. And like, ooh, I got to jump on this project right now because this is going to make me more money right now. Or this is the hot iron I need to strike, you know? But I can say this, you know, like having Brandy and her team working with us, like has kept me way more focused on the long-term vision.
Right.
The long-term vision's been there for a while, but like focusing on the steps that I need to take and what my job is in all of this, as opposed to having my job have to be everything out of necessity, has been huge. And also I'm accountable to somebody else. Like, okay, if they need something from me, then I got to get it over to them.
That's what you got to do.
Yeah.
Now, I have a task. It's interesting being an entrepreneur because you're your own boss. And it's hard to set directives. But then you hire somebody that can create your directives. Yeah. You start treating your employee like your boss, which is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. I love having somebody to be accountable to in that sense. Because it has, I mean, if anybody's been watching UMC over the past few months, you've noticed we've been doing more and more. Yeah. And that's not by accident. It's a direct result of that. That's the value of the investment. Yeah. You know, and you know, it's also helping me brainstorm like ways to grow the business from a revenue standpoint, you know, as far as like the services we're going to begin offering, you know, different offerings that we'll have.
Which I will be partaking in.
Yes. Yes, you will. Yes,
because you help artists.
Yeah. And that's the goal, you know, help artists, give them everything they need, you know, and have it all in house, you know, and have it be something that's really community driven and highlighted then through our community. I haven't announced it yet, but I'm teetering that line on this episode. I'm really excited about it.
Sorry, I might make you spill some beans.
No. This is fine. This is fine. But like, it's really, you know, it's been really just, you know, transformative to have that layer of accountability, but also just to have somebody help with the things that like in the day-to-day rush of knocking out tasks, knocking out the list, like, you know, all these pie in the sky things that seem like pie in the sky ideas in my mind are able to happen now. Yep. And that is so valuable, not to mention strategizing ways to grow the business, strategizing different revenue streams, strategizing, okay, how do we get me out there on like speaking gigs? Right. Like that's something we're talking about now. Me going and speaking at things. Like
you're definitely worth that. And just so you know, I flipped this whole entire interview process around to interviewing Gerard.
Whoa.
Who would have thought?
Look at that.
That I had that capability, you know?
I lost control of my own show.
Well, it's one thing that I think your listeners should realize is that you have a wealth of information because you've already gone through a very, 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 very tumultuous journey. Yeah. You've made it through with a bunch of scars.
Oh yeah,
that you can describe, and you can be like, "Hey, like this knife wound right here in my left shin or my arm is specifically from this, and this is why you shouldn't do this because no matter what, this is the result." And I'm loving it, and I'm learning a lot, even sitting right here. Just you literally saying, "Yeah, I had to bring somebody in." You have to have a team of some sort. It's not saying like you can't do things yourself. Right. That's not what I think you're getting at. It's like, why are you doing it by yourself?
And you get to a certain point where that's hurting you more than it's helping you.
100%.
You know, and that's something I had to realize. And yeah, I mean, the trial's the journey. You know, it's been 10 years since the show started. And like so much life has happened in that time and even before. And it's like, no matter what, things are going to come up in your life too. Yeah. That you're going to have to address while you're doing this thing.
100%.
And you're going to have to keep your head focused enough on it to keep it moving forward. And like, you know, I've been reflecting a lot on the 10 years and like, you know, before the 10 years back in high school, I already got the major illness thing out of the way, knock on wood, when I
Good.
was 16. I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but I am,
Oh,
yeah, I'm a cancer survivor. I always tell people how many fingers am I holding up when they ask, really?
wow.
Yep. So very malignant tumor in my left ring finger. So I was 16 when that happened. I've lost a parent. I've gone through a rough breakup. I've dealt with various bouts of financial instability. I've had just other miscellaneous BS happen, like in my life, some of which caused by me. And through it all, like I realize now this number 10's behind me and I'm still here and this thing is still here somehow.
That's a round of applause for everybody. I need you to like, subscribe, comment, go to the UMC website, get on Facebook, follow the UMC page, get on Instagram, follow there, comment, repost, put it in your story, say Gerard's name, say his name again and again and again and again.
I appreciate that, man.
Yeah.
But it's just that means a lot. That means a lot. But it's just this realization of like, I've been through all of this and somehow kept myself alive and kept this thing alive, now to the point where both are thriving. And I'm the happiest I've probably ever been in these 10 years.
Wow.
And I'm the most optimistic about this. And it's like, I have to see this through now. Because there have been points along those 10 years where it's like, that would have been a natural stopping point,
Right?
Like we all experienced those, like the first OG run of the show. Like after that, we went on hiatus and the blog didn't exist yet. I could have just stopped and went and worked my day job and been normal.
Been good.
And it seemed like it might have been heading that way in mid 2015, but for some reason, like this has always been the thing for the past 10 years and everything that this show, because the show started it, has given rise to, like, it's just been the thing that's like, this is my impact to have.
Yeah.
And like, I still, it's like, some of it's still a mystery to me as like, why this thing? Why am I so obsessed with building this thing? Right. But that's what keeps me like going, because it's like trying to find that out and trying to figure that out. Like, what is it about this? And like, how's that going to feel when I finally, achieve that vision, have that physical headquarters, dedicate Mom's Basement Studios, which is a goal.
Yeah.
Like that August 17th, 2028, that is the 15-year anniversary from the inception of this show.
Wow.
And I want to dedicate a studio to my mom, who I lost in 2015, because we recorded at my parents' house when we started, and we called it Mom's Basement Studios.
Wow.
And like as a term of endearment, but also my mom seemed to really enjoy the commotion we'd bring to the house. It was kind of like a That 70s Show thing. She loved it. My dad hated it.
I mean, why would it be both parents?
Yeah, exactly. But she was always there to lend an ear at midnight when I was freaking out over something. She was always there to give some tough love when it was needed. We threw an American Cancer Society benefit and we're $500 short, and she became our anonymous donor and told me not to tell anyone. Sorry.
Wow.
Well, like she was always there, and like she always, like any harebrained scheme I ever had, she was right behind. So physical headquarters, 2028. We're dedicating that studio on August 17th. I have it in my phone. I have it in my calendar.
Mark it down, y'all.
It's happening. But wow, this really did turn into an interview of me.
Yeah.
And I've revealed things on this show that I haven't revealed publicly.
Yeah.
So,
I tend to do that.
What an interviewer. You should start a podcast.
Yeah.
Add another thing to your list,
And unfortunately I did.
Oh, did you?
Unknowingly, but I felt like it was necessary. I know a lot of amazing producers and music industry professionals.
Yeah.
And I just started this thing called Producers Unpacked, where we unpack the stories and successes of others in the industry so that you could take their information and use it to pursue your career in this thing called the music industry. So without but no, man, I've really had a really good time talking about all this stuff. I'm excited for the future of UMC. I'm excited to have been on this stage during the 10-year anniversary. I was aware, but wasn't really aware of all that went into it. And one, I'll say I'm proud of you, like for real.
I appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
Likewise.
Like, you've got a lot to live for, and the fact that you're here with us says even more, because it could have been the exact opposite.
Yeah.
You know, I've even had a time where I might not have been here.
Right.
You know what I mean? We all go through things, whether it's by choice or by the force of nature, and it's like, why do you think it happened to you? It wasn't for no reason.
Yeah.
You could say,
Yeah.
just woe is me. It's like, no, be thankful for that.
Mm-hmm.
You made it through, and now you have a testimony to help others go through it without having to go through it.
Yeah. Yeah.
In the same way.
There's always something to learn
Yeah,
if you're willing to learn it.
100%.
You know, there's always an opportunity for growth. You don't grow if you don't challenge yourself.
Never miss the opportunity to risk being great.
Exactly.
Man, dude, this has been so cool.
Let's talk about your future quick, though, because I know we're probably coming up on time here. But,
oh, no, we're good, you know. Yeah.
But so in addition to everything that you're doing right now, you're also stepping into the artist realm.
Yeah, man. Yeah. It's extremely scary because I know all about it. You know what I mean? Because I've developed artists in a sense, like working with them before they knew how to rap and until they're making their first album and first performances and touring and all that good stuff. And I'm like, I don't want any of that. I thought I did when I was younger. I was like, I'm going to be the dopest artist. I'm going to have bars for days. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to have my album. I'm going to be in the streets going hard. You know what I'm saying? Me and Jay-Z. You know what I'm saying? Just and then I learned, like, nah, no, I don't want to have everything I do of every single day be monitored,
right? In
a sense, and that's where we're at, especially with social media. It's self-evident. But in this artist world, what I plan on doing is having albums of encouragement. They're very neutral in a sense, to where I'm not telling anybody to be anything or just to do anything, but I am telling everybody not to give up. And so my first album that I've been working on for years is called Naturals and Accidentals. And so it's all about the piano. There are some naturals and there's some accidentals. It goes into times of endurance. There's sadness, there's happiness. All of these things go into the key of life. Shout out to Stevie Wonder on that album title, which is awesome. And I've learned so much about music. And I've finally been able to start singing and pour my heart out on a record and not be afraid to say certain things. And I've learning how to say it without saying it, but saying it more powerfully than if I would have said it. Right. Which is crazy. Yeah. And it all is a big shout out to poetry and figuring out how to say the unsaid in a creative way that people will be happy with, no matter how horrible it is. I could tell you, I'm going to rip you to shreds. And they'll be like, oh, he hates me so much. Like, you know, like, what a great poem. Because raising all these kids in the city and watching them get on stage and talk about their identities and what they've been through with their parents and guardians and family members and friends in the audience, and their friends, family, and guardians come up to them like, oh, that was so good. And the poet goes, but did you realize I was talking about this? Boom, there it is. You found your way in to talk about something you never been able to speak about. And it's deeper than music. It's really spelling things out. Yeah. You know, they call it spelling for a reason, because you're casting spells. So you got to be aware of how you're doing things. And yeah, that's why I need to be an artist for my kids to have something to listen to when I'm gone, and their grandkids. So there's just a record. Hence the word record. Yeah. Yeah. Shout out to RCA. So yeah, that's my journey. I don't really have a goal for the artistry except to let the music speak for itself. Yeah. There's really feels like there's a spiritual element to this too. Yeah. You know, and we were talking a little bit about this before we started, you know, but you have, I guess, come to a new relationship in the spiritual sense with your faith. Yeah. And just want to give you a chance to elaborate on that and how that informs everything that you're doing. Yeah. I've been through many journeys. I'm a person that is very into the details. You could tell me something and I will believe you only because I have a way to go validate that information or verify it. Right. So started with, reading all the books, the Nostradamus stuff.
Yeah.
You go deep into Egyptology,
Mm.
like the Book of the Dead. You go into the Bible, you go into Quran, you go into Buddhism, all these things.
Mm-hmm.
My grandmother was Buddhist, is Buddhist, and my grandfather was a Baptist Christian or Seventh-day Adventist. So it's like I had these two realms combined at the same time around me, a big portion of my childhood. And I took the leap of faith to go get baptized recently and profess the Christian faith. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what that's going to do because it's still a journey. But I know that if I'm going to really learn about something, I need to fully believe in it to understand why it is the way it is and stop worrying about every single detail.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's about the main message. What is the main message?
Right.
And it's really about your morality and how you're living. And there are many faiths on this planet that do the same thing, and which is what makes it hard for me sometimes because I truly accept people for who they are.
Right.
Because I feel like everyone has something that they can bestow upon you that brings value to your life.
Right.
And so I don't push anything on anybody else, but I know what is driving me. Right. And I'm using that spiritual faith to just find peace, have something to just base my trials and tribulations off of, and find similar stories that someone has gone through, just like you've gone through things, and now you can give that testimony. Why don't I just read the testimonies that have been written for hundreds of years and see what that does? Yeah. I'm not saying it's in the right language, whatever.
Right.
Or the wrong language. It's just, let's just get those basic facts. Then I can use that musically and send out a general message without saying you have to do this or have to do that, but definitely saying, hey, understand that there's more to you than just your skin. Yeah. We've got something in there. Yeah. Whether you call it your spirit, your essence, your vibe, watch out for it.
We are spiritual beings having a human experience.
Yeah, you're going to remember the stuff you do.
I don't know who I just plagiarized there, but it's the truth.
It's okay. You're going to remember what you do. You're going to remember how you messed up. You're going to remember who you hurt. You don't get to say something. You don't get to say something to somebody and then decide if that hurt them. Right. That's not your... Exactly. Right. So we have to learn what could hurt somebody or bring somebody up. Yeah. And try to use that in our lives.
Yeah. And I think it gives you a good way to check yourself too, as far as your actions and whether or not they're in alignment with your spirit, whatever you want to call that spirit. Yeah. Like what is the essence of who you are, and did what I just did, like, reflect that properly? Because we all act out of turn. We all do things that we wish we could take back.
Yep.
Yep. And you can feel that.
Yeah.
You can feel whether that was the right thing to do or that was the wrong thing to do based on how it just makes you feel, like based on your physical or metaphysical reaction to what just happened. Yeah. Right. Whether it's in alignment with what you want, who you are, who you want to be. Yeah. It's just a matter of recognizing that. And when you do recognize that you're out of alignment, adjusting the sails. Yep. And it takes time. It takes making mistakes. It takes a certain level of emotional maturity. Yeah. To be able and willing to do that. Right?
Yeah, look yourself in the mirror. That's hard to do. Yeah. Even when you're looking at yourself in the mirror, can you really look at yourself and say, I'm this, that thing that you've been trying to deny? Yeah. And are you willing to literally let it go? Or are you just going to say, I let it go, but it's still a piece of tissue on my foot everywhere I walk, and everyone sees it, even though I'm acting like it's not there. Right. And so that's part of the challenge and part of the success too, because that is a step. So don't feel bad if that's what's happening. You know what I mean? If it's like I tried to let something go, but it's still there, and every once in a while it comes back to me. It's all about knowing that now. Now that you know that that's possible, now you are starting to build a defense against whatever is tormenting you or jumping into your life. I got news this morning that somebody did something horrific to their own family member, and it's like, wow, how are they going to live with that?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe they need to live with that so they
Mm-hmm.
can learn and teach others about how not to do those things. So,
Yeah. And the level of accountability you have toward yourself,
Mm-hmm.
like that's going to show up in your life, and it's going to reflect in everything that you do, everything that you touch.
1,000.
And I think a byproduct of maintaining that level of accountability is being able to take that look in the mirror,
Yeah, man.
and being able to have that internal dialogue, be kinder toward yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That's definitely one thing over the past few years. Like for me, it's just been like, I noticed my internal dialogue's a lot healthier than it used to be. Instead of you better do this or else, it's come on, you got this, let's go.
Let's go.
Like, and it's a beautiful place to get to. Like I would never go back to my 20s. I would never go back to that guy.
Yeah.
Ever. No. I don't want to be younger. I
would go watch it because it was a really good TV show.
That's fair. That's fair. If you like cringe, go back to my 20s and watch them. But
on this episode of Cringe,
but like I like the station I've come to. I like what's ahead.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm excited for you, man, because
man.
your journey, has taken you to some incredible places as well, and you've had this chance to grow as a person, as a professional, move toward your vision, move toward your truth, and just continually show up better,
man.
And that's what it's about.
Thank you so much, man. And I feel the same way about you. And, I already said I'm proud of you, but I'm going to say it again. I'm proud of you, man. And I'm not just saying that, because to just say that would mean I don't mean it.
Right.
So love you, man. And I'm just thankful to be in this space and let others hear this. I'm not exactly sure what gems I gave to who or why, but it happened. So take it to heart.
Yeah.
And use it. Yeah.
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 What he said.
What he said, too, because it was important.
Appreciate it, man.
I was so happy to be on the Quinn Spinn today, man. This is an awesome show.
Yeah.
Like,
Thanks.
you're just so dope. And I'm glad we got to reveal some of our inner thoughts.
Yeah.
In our inner guts.
And we go deep here. We go
man.
deep here. You asked me yesterday, like a half hour. I'm like, ish. And we've been here.
I think it's almost an hour, isn't it?
It's probably over an hour at this point.
Oh my god! So you can cut out the beginning because we got heated. Once it started getting heated, and now I'm talking about editing the. You could tell that I do too much. I'm like, so what about the dead air? Are we going to like? I'm not worried about it. You got it.
Yeah.
Whoop, whoop.
We'll see if we have enough for a 2-parter here. Who knows?
Yeah, that might be a thing.
Yeah,
I'm excited, man. Well,
too,
thank you
man.
again, dude.
Yeah.
It's been an honor to be on the show.
And where can we learn more about you if we want to learn more about you?
If you want to follow me, you can type in Instagram, Reggaerica. So that's reggae, REGGAE, RICA. And that's how you find your boy, REGGAE, RICA. Don't ask me why I came up with that name. I got stuck with it in high school, and I unfortunately got business names with that, and now it's stuck. So
it's there.
It was awesome though. Like, no bad vibes towards that. Yes, great, awesome, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Branding wise, I probably should have stopped calling myself the Quinn about 7 years ago. But here we are. We're on the
Okay,
Quinn
so it's the same type of thing.
Yeah.
It's like, well, there it is.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
I'm not changing it now. There's too much heritage built into the show.
100%.
Like I've thought about changing it to the Underground Cast or whatever, which would be a pretty cool name
Mm-hmm.
if I was starting the show.
Yeah.
No, this was our point of singularity.
Yep.
Keep it.
Perfect.
Hold on to that. Hold on to that story.
Yeah, man.
The first point of the evolution of what all this has become started with this silly podcast. I started to escape corporate America.
Well, cheers to that, man.
Yeah.
Here's to 10,000 more years.
10,000 more. There will be more Quinns to come.
Mm-hmm.
And this has been the Quinn Spinn, 2 N's and Quinn, 2 N's and Spin. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor, Stitcher, YouTube, and more. Also, look us up on Instagram at Quinn Spinn Official, 2 N's and Quinn, 2 N's and Spin. UndergroundMusicCollective.com, our central hub, has more information on the show, and that is our central hub for all things independent music, creativity, community, deep conversations, and more. Learn more about UMC on all the socials, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube. Follow the UMC 20 playlist on Spotify, 20 fresh tracks, and the latest episode or episodes of this podcast every single Tuesday, depending how many episodes I record in a week. And NashLive.live. We've got a big show at the Cobra this Saturday. It is a hip-hop and R&B showcase featuring Chris Hatch, Lord Goldie, and Foundation Mecca of the Sunday Funday crew, Emery James, and Seti Mack. It's going to be a lot of fun. 8 p.m. start, Saturday, April 1st. $10 advance tickets. Get them now. Or just come at the door. Whatever you want to do. Most people in Nashville just come at the door. As long as you're there. Revel 9's All I Become, our opening theme song, going to take us out just like it brought us in because it's also our closing theme song. And I'll see you next time. Hey now.